What if you could take that risk, make that change, reach that goal, live your best life? Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast, where we get together with amazing experts and everyday people who share challenges, encourage healing, and explore the possibilities that life has to offer. I'm your host, Gary Scott, and I'm excited that you're along for the ride. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast. And today, my glowing guest, all the way from the land down under, is Karen Aroney. Hello, Karen.
Hello, Gary. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just am so glad you're here. And you got up nice and early because it's early in Sydney right now. So thank you for that.
hmm
And if I may, I'm just going to read your bio, and I promise if I hit a few wrong, please correct me because this stuff is important, and I just want to get it right. So,
Sure.
everybody, we have Karen Aroney, and she's the founder and CEO of ExecFuel. Yes,
ExecFuel.
ExecFuel. Oh, I swear,
Close.
I'm not even going to edit that because we just have to get that right.
Oh
And
my gosh, no.
I get so close. And Empower Her, delivering premium
hmm
nutrition programs designed to help high achieving individuals transform their health and their life. With over a decade of corporate experience, Kieran understands the unique challenges faced by professionals and entrepreneurs and empowers them to balance professional success with professional well being through strategic nutrition. Her expertise is as accredited nutritionist with a background in psychology enables her to create tailored nutrition plans that seamlessly fit busy lifestyles. Karen is also a mother and women's advocate dedicated to helping women in business and corporate to achieve optimum health through personalized strategy. Karen's evidence-based approach focuses on using food as fuel for optimal performance without restrictive diets or burnout. Through personalized VIP coaching, group programs, and seminars, Karen provides high achievers with the tools to reach their health and fitness goals while driving measurable improvements in energy, leadership, and work life harmony. Karen is committed to aligning health with success, helping her clients achieve lasting transformation. And that's an awesome thing. We
Wonderful.
all need it desperately.
We
You
do.
sound
We
amazing. I
do.
hope this goes well because you sound great.
Hope I live up to my bio.
Right? I know. That's a tough one because it's really good. It's really a good one. Well, Kieran,
Oh dear.
I'm just,
Yeah.
again, I'm grateful for you're here. And because I am contractually obligated by myself to ask the
Mhm.
what if you could question, we are the What If You Could podcast. And so I always ask my guests, Kieran, have you ever had a what if you could moment, or do you still have a what if you could dream or thought? Is there a what if you could you'd love to share with us before we get started?
Yes, I think what if you could is very much related, I think, to today's topic and to my work, which is what if you could sustainably scale your work, build your career, and have the success that you crave? And it had nothing to really do with strategy, but everything to do with your energy. And I think that for me, that question was something that I asked many, many years ago of myself and my peers when I was working in a corporate environment. And I was seeing everybody around me burn out at various levels. So, yes, to answer that question, I've always asked and still ask, and I still ask this of clients, I still ask this of friends, I still ask this of myself. What if you could have more at a sustainable pace without so much of a just strategy based, but more energy based, I suppose.
Well, that is awesome. And I think, writing down some notes while you're saying that is just why why don't we? Why don't we? I don't think there's anyone on the planet, and you know better than me, but I don't think there's anyone on the planet that if you said, "Hey, wouldn't it be better for you if you ate better and took better care of your health?" I don't think anyone would say no, right? So,
Yes.
so then
Yes.
why don't we? What are the obstacles you see? What are the why don't people take better care of themselves?
Well, the first one is actually the way we are socialized. I believe. So one of the messages that we receive when we're young is, busy work is hard work or good work, and um, the more we the more we produce, the better we are, and that comes as a cost of prioritizing our own health. And so I think for a lot of people, especially in my generation, we were raised in an environment where it was more around production, output, performance, and less about putting ourselves first and our needs first and our health first to be able to do that effectively and in a way that allowed us to do it sustainably as well. So that's probably one of the first for us. Second to that is we are in an environment where it's incredibly fast paced. And so whilst we think about what we need to do and what looks healthy, it's also a time management thing. So a lot of people don't really put that forward or block out the right amount of time or understand what simple meal prep can look like or what healthy snacking can look like, because it comes at an expense of their time when they are trying to do particular projects or reach particular goals or have particular outcomes, just depending on what they do. So those two are probably the first and foremost when it comes to why don't people just simply do this. The other reason too is a lot of people don't even know where to start. So there's so much noise around the health and wellness space, as you would know, and so much noise in social media alone around what the right advice is, that people have too much information and, a confused mind says no. So there's so much that sort of goes in, and then people can't decipher what actually works best for them and what is applicable to their lifestyle, if that makes sense.
Do you see that people most often come to you when they've hit the wall? It's like, when they should come to you, it's like you said, when you want more, you read off a number of things: health, booming business, relationship, everything's great, right? We've got our perfect wheel, everything's a 10 on the wheel, it's rolling perfectly, right? But that's just not realistic. It's just not ever going to happen. So, do you see people come to you
Mm.
and say, I want to achieve and I want to get this cooking? Or do more people come to you and they've just hit the wall and go, wow, I'm toast. I need your help.
Great question. Because when I first started the consultancy a few years ago, I did primarily deal with people who were coming to me after having experienced burnout, decision fatigue, chronic fatigue, weight gain, all the sort of symptoms that come from not prioritizing yourself and then just focusing on everything else, and taking easy options, which at the time seem easy, but obviously aren't. What I'm now experiencing is a little bit of a mix of both. So, we have the generations coming up at the moment that are really looking long term about their health and are probably seeing what my generation did and said, I don't want that. But also far more aware of what their choices and their options are now. And so I do also deal with people, or primarily people who are coming in saying, okay, this is where I want to be in 20, 30 years time. And I want you to help me make that strategy real so that I can apply it and I can make the necessary changes at every stage or decade of my life. Because the truth is, we can't be doing, if we're in our 40s and 50s, we can't be doing what we were doing in our 20s. That goes for nutrition and that goes for fitness and movement. And so they're really seeing that and saying, well, I'm now in my mid 30s. I'm incredibly successful financially. I've got a great social group. Some of them might have a young family, but they can see that 40s, 50s, 60s, they want to keep that and maintain that sustainably. Yes, and then there's the other side of it, which I do see clients in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who have made incredible traction in their professional lives. But personally, they haven't quite hit the goals that they need to hit to be able to sustain that. So a lot of the work that I do is actually just embedded in three pillars. I work around nutrition, psychology, and lifestyle integration. And as you were saying, when we're great in one area, we're probably not great in the other. So with those three pillars, what we try and do, if we look at it as a Venn diagram, for example, all three need to overlap. You need to have your nutrition sorted, your mindset needs to be there to some degree in terms of, a strong positive growth mindset. And then we need to be able to integrate that into your lifestyle, because, if that can't be integrated, then we can't apply it. So it's very difficult. So those three pillars really embed, or structure the programs that I work with anyway. And then, with the question that you just asked, allowing people to then decide when they approach the consultancy, or they want to work with me, is how do I then, where am I not so great in some areas? I hate saying the word lacking. Where am I not so great in some areas? And as a result of not being, so let's use nutrition for an example. If I'm underperforming, or I'm not really meeting my requirements in nutrition, how is that impacting my mindset? How is that impacting my lifestyle? And career is included in that as well.
I love that. I love that you are, because it's so easy to just go and find a diet
Yeah.
program, right? Like you're going to stick to it, you're not.
Mm.
But
Mm.
having the mindset, you know, having the three pillars that you're talking about is so crucial because you could be the healthiest person in the world and be flat broke. You can be the richest person in the world and can barely walk up a set of stairs, right? You could have lack of
Yes.
spirituality. You could have this and that, but really
Yes.
encompassing everything is just so crucial to that overall lifestyle that you're trying to help people with. And that's why when you said more, earlier you used the word more. And I know that that word is a dangerous one, right? Because more could be so much for anybody, right? More is different for everybody, right? But I think the one
Mm.
thing we all want more of is health and longevity,
Mm.
right?
And I love that you said that, because it's exactly where people miss the mark. It's that they know, maybe the not consciously, that they need to improve their health, but more for them still sort of stems from this more superficial understanding of what more is. And as you said, if they're lacking in that mindset piece or the spirituality piece, it is difficult to then understand, okay, well, then how do I integrate nutrition into that as well, so that I can actually have a more fulfilled, energized life to be able to do more and have more. Because as we do age, I do find with my clients who are in themselves incredibly successful financially, um, as they get older, they do realize actually that sort of inverts, right? It's almost like, well, I could have all the money in the world, all the things, but now I'm realizing that I don't feel so good, and this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel congruent with where I want to be in my lifestyle, and how I want to be able to raise my children or see my grandchildren grow and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
That is my more. My more is to be snowboarding with my grandchildren when I'm 90. So I just turned 62. I've got a 2.5 year old and a 2 month old and another one a bun in the oven. So I'll be having three grandchildren so
Love.
far. And I just can't wait to get those rugrats out there on the slopes and be snowboarding at
Yeah.
90, snowboarding at 95.
Yeah.
I don't know why I
Yeah.
can't. I don't see there isn't any physiological reason why I can't, right? I might not be
Yeah.
going jumps or hitting something stupid, but I can get out there and carve, right? And that's why I want to
100%.
touch on the more with you just a little bit more, if I could,
Sure.
to expand on that, because I
Yes.
love more. I love more. But I'm afraid, like you said, we're so wrapped in a commercial world that maybe more
Mm.
is the stuff that isn't really going to get us. And when you work with your folks, is that one of the things you say? What are your fitness goals? What are your mindset goals? What are your business goals? I mean, how do you counsel people when you first get with them?
All right. So what we do is we really analyze what their goals are. So the first and foremost is we need to understand what people's real, what actually lights them up. Okay, because it's all well and good uh, to assume that there's certain goals are around the financial market, but when you really dig deep, you find that it probably isn't that. So one of the first things that we look at when we have our initial consults is, tell me what vision looks like of you in 6 months' time. And I really make it only 6 months because I want to make it contextual. Yes. And any further than 6 months, and I think people become a little bit overwhelmed because it's a lot of work, right? To really hone in on what your vision looks like. And this is such an important part of this piece. It is, what are you doing in 6 months' time? What are you earning? What are you wearing? What are you saying? Who are your friends? You know, we have that old adage, you are the five that you hang around. What are you eating? What are you doing for movement? And it becomes really, really specific. We become even more specific as we go into this exercise. So that's first and foremost, because the more specific we get, then we can get into the why. And you probably know quite a fair amount about the why. So the why is crucial for motivation, crucial. And it's quite interesting. I'm working with a client at the moment who it's taken her 6 months to actually realize her why. And that's fine. Everybody comes to that place eventually. But when we first started, she really said to me, Karen, I cannot find the why. I cannot. And I said, well, ask again, ask again. So we try and do the 5 whys. Um, and she was getting very uncomfortable because I think we were getting to about the third why and she was getting stuck.
Yeah.
She's like, this is not a fun exercise. I said, I know, it's not really. Because you really have to dig
Because it's
deep
not
and there's
easy,
accountability.
guys. It's
It's not
not
easy.
easy. That's why it's not fun. And if you actually have to take a look at yourself in the mirror and make nice with yourself and be kind to yourself and go, all right,
Mm,
no bullshit. What do you
yeah,
really want? It's just you and me,
yeah.
yourself, right? What do you really want? No one else is here. I
Yeah.
swear I won't tell anybody except Karen, right? I mean, it's not
And
easy. It's not.
and there's no right or wrong. It's not easy. And there's no right or wrong. So this is the interesting part of the socialization piece. It's almost as though there's judgment and you have this and your fear of judgment for claiming your why. So what we try and teach is that there is no judgment in that space and allowing them to dig even deeper as to, so if you approached me and said to me, I want to lose 10 kilograms, I will say why. And then some people will get very stuck in that answer. They would like, well, is it because I want to look good? Is it because I want to feel good? Is it? And sometimes it has nothing to do with their appearance, but everything to do with their mindset. So it's just knowing that why is probably one of the most key things. And you're right. There's no bullshit. You need to sit there and really know, why do I want this? Why do I want to be fitter? Why do I want to lose 10? Why do I want to change the way I eat? Um, and it really comes down to knowing your why to keep you motivated. So those are the initial things that we do to get you started. And that's where I sort of try and clarify the more to your question, which is, okay, what do we want more of? Is
Mhm.
it that you want more health and vitality, which are very, very overarching words, or is the more specific? Do you want your pants to fit you so that when you walk into a boardroom, you actually feel confident? And then that's very specific because, and that means more to that person than just feeling healthy and vital, right? So it really is an understanding of what is, you'll only understand what you want more of when you get to your why.
Gosh, I love so much what you said. I mean, starting with lights them up. I mean, lights them up because honestly,
Mm,
you went from lights them up to vision of you to why, and then wrapping it up with we judge ourselves, right? So it's like
mm,
it's almost impossible to get to that why, honestly, if you just keep judging yourself, because it's like
it
I
is.
gotta I gotta dump my husband because he's a loser and I can been putting it off and it's holding me back, or this job
Yeah.
or the things that are really tough, the honest things, but it so comes down to what lights you up. Right. I mean, if you're just honest about what you really just gets you off, what joneses you, what lights you up inside, it'll help you with a vision of yourself, which will help you get to that why, right? But until you
Mm.
do that, until you're honest about really what lights you up, I just love that you said that, and I love that you bring that out of people because God, that is so crucial. We won't do it by ourselves. We're too afraid.
We won't. We're too afraid, and you need someone to hold that space for you and push you to get to that. So it's interesting around what lights you up because people who haven't had that experience or haven't honored it, I suppose.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, deal with, and this is why I actually went into nutrition in the first place. Even as a psychologist, I'm a registered nutritionist and I practice as a nutritionist. But the psychology part of this is so fascinating because if you haven't honored that, I see it, and you will see it in our response to and our beliefs around food as well. So what tends to become a pattern are things like emotional eating in this space. Okay, if we're directly relating it to the nutrition piece,
What do you think people
because
fight more? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just it just made me
oh
think.
no,
What do you think people fight more? Sitting down and being honest with themselves and finding what lights them up, or being honest with food and where they are with food?
what a question. Do you want to come work with me?
Yes. We'll start a U.S. branch of
That was
of your
that was a
company.
great question. I'm being serious. I haven't been asked that before, and you're so right. So what do they resist more is ask me that again.
What do you think
Ask me that
people
again.
fight you on more? Being able to be honest with themselves and would admit where they need to be and why, or their relationship with food.
The former. There's a huge resistance to the why.
Yeah.
That they can become in the space with me, they can become incredibly honest very quickly around their food habits, and I can identify very quickly where a lot of those habits stems from, especially if they're childhood embedded habits, or trauma related habits, or stress related habits from adulthood. But when it comes to them becoming more aware of their why, that's a difficult one. Their vision is very, very difficult.
I'm writing
Um,
down childhood right as you started to say childhood. And literally as you're saying, I was writing it down. And I first I put I didn't want to sound cliche. But truly, I mean, you're not just digging through getting people from being fat to skinny or setting a goal to do something. You're also working with your psychology background. You're fighting that, unraveling that onion of, look, dude, we gotta find you before we can fix
yeah.
you, right?
Yes, yes. And so this is why their vision is the most difficult part, or their why is the difficult part. Because it's easy to use food as the tool for support and comfort and distraction to the why. Very easy. But it's not easy to actually own your why and the accountability that comes with that. And even speaking it because it's scary. So we have a fear of loss as humans, and if we feel like we are going to lose our identity or our current status or our what everybody already believes about us, that can be very scary. And there are the percentage of people who go ahead anyway and decide that they have to change identity. Now we need to adapt. And then there are a percentage of people who aren't comfortable in changing their identity or adapting because it makes other people uncomfortable. It makes them feel a little bit uncomfortable. They don't want to hurt other people. And that's exactly why habits with food come in as well,
Yeah.
if that
I
makes
read a
sense.
book 100 years ago. I don't even know if the lady's still alive. I hope she is. But it was by a gal named Susan Jeffers. And I think it was Jeffers or Jeffries or something like that. And it was called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways. There's a little tiny book, and it was kind
Oh,
of basically the same thing you've heard from everybody for the last 50 years, right? Earl Nightingale and Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins, all these guys, right? But yet it was a great little book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways. And but before that hit my brain was something else you said. I would imagine that regardless of where people are in their life, you still find similar struggles. Where someone's starting out and they're heavy and they're not figuring out where to go in their career, to the multimillionaire CEO who looks great on paper, or his persona, but the dude's really messed up in a lot of different ways, right? I mean, I'm sure you see both.
Yes. Yep. There is no real difference. The only commonality that my clients have is that most of them have, or pretty much all of them come to me because of the demographic I work with, who are all high performers, all of them. The only similarity they have is what we call the athlete mindset. So
Mm.
they
Wait,
are
I'm sorry, would you say that again?
athlete mindset.
Love it. Okay.
Uh, So that athlete mindset is really around, and you can imagine, and you're probably similar in many ways, is around tenacity, grit, smashing goals, reaching for more. So that's what they have in common. Um, However, it's very. I do actually really like the question that you asked then as well, because it is, people assume that when I say I work with high performers, that they're all quite fit triathletes in boardrooms or in, C-level, and they've got it all together. They don't. And that's one of the reasons they come to see me, is primarily centered around, I don't understand why I'm burnt out, why I'm stressed, why I am feeling weak, why I can't renew my energy. And it almost always relates to how they eat and what they're doing with their nutrition. Yeah.
And the folks who have it always angers me. I mean, here in America, I don't know what it's like in Australia because I've never been there, but here in America, we have more food than we know what to do with. And it's so easy to eat well. And I think the thing that
Mm.
angers me the most is when people go, "Well, I eat fast food and I eat this and that because it's cheaper and it's
Mm.
expensive to eat healthy." And I call
Mm.
bullocks poppycock. That's complete baloney, right? I mean, it's like I could take a rotisserie chicken and eat for like 3 days. All right, don't tell me that you
Yeah.
cannot eat healthy. So
Yeah.
that's the people on one scale. But then you have, like you said,
Yeah.
high powered executives who have tons of dough. They probably have a chef there, or they
Yeah.
have someone at or in their office who could get
Yep.
them food, right? But it's their mindset. It's like, dude, you have to
Yeah.
understand the correlation between nutrition. You're taking a Ferrari and you're pouring, molasses in the gas tank, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I speak a lot around your body being a sports vehicle or a luxury vehicle, and how do you fuel it, and how do you choose to fuel that type of vehicle? And it's not until you say it that people go, oh, actually, probably not fueling it that well. There's always that question when I'm in, seminars or keynotes, where I ask the question and everybody's sort of sheepishly going, not really treating my body right. That all comes back to the initial belief uh, around food, and how they were also raised, whether it was culturally, whether it's, and a lot of it is cultural, I suppose, in the US too, um, whether they have been in a position most of their lives where fast food was a thing for them. Um, a lot of the times, if they were already raised eating predominantly well, or they could model off a parents who ate quite well, you don't normally see that type of behavior. What I do see is, and this is the really fascinating part around the demographic I work with, some of them have come out of quite traumatic childhoods. So they wanted to be the complete opposite of what they grew up with. So some of them are incredibly high achievers who want to be nothing like the families they grew up in. Um, they don't want to live in poverty. They don't want to have stuck mindsets. They don't want to, but the way they eat is still stuck. And the way the foods, such as fast food, for example, is still a huge part of their lives. So we do need to remember, when it comes to those types of people, so all the money in the world, in very senior positions, running large companies, or entrepreneurs who have their own companies. There are two parts to it, really. One is what they know, so pre-existing conditions with how they've been eating. And the second one's convenience, unfortunately. So a lot of this demographic work long hours, they travel excessively, they client entertain, and it's not as simple as saying, as a nutritionist to these people, right, well, prep, just meal prep. It's just one of the first things a lot of this clientele come and say to me at the very beginning is, I hate cooking, I don't have time for it, and I don't meal prep. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm going to work it out. But with that mindset already, they've already cancelled out the fact that they need to have some sort of strategy for their food. But then yes, to that second part of that, the question is, a lot of it is around convenience for them as well. What's fast, what's effective. You're right, they can eat well, they can afford to eat well. Even the ones with private chefs can afford to eat well. However, the ones that have that lifestyle also tend to travel and entertain quite a fair amount too. And so, again, that then goes back to childhood psychological beliefs around food.
Yeah, in America, I'm always just irritated when people say that, and I say, well, you've got the newest iPhone, you've got these fancy clothes, you bought yourself this, you've got two leased cars, you've got the only thing you don't go out of your way to have really nice and fancy is food. And it just boggles my mind because you
Yeah.
can eat healthy and you can do it. I mean, it's like I tell people all the time when 90% of the time, so I love to cook. So for me, it's a little bit different, but 90% of the time when I cook dinner, I have lunch the next day. I cook enough so that the next day,
Yep.
I don't care I'm eating
Yeah.
the same thing. It was
Exactly.
good last night. It's going to be good for
Yes.
so I will
Oh,
make
that's
enough to
perfect.
have some for
Yeah.
lunch the next day, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Gut
think with them,
wrenching.
I do say choose sort of what we call power meals or power snacks. Choose three power meals that you can rotate in your week. You don't need to have a new recipe for every night of the week. And this is, I think, where they get stuck. They're sort of like, well, I need to get creative. In fact, I encourage boring meals. I really do. I'm a huge believer that if you're staying consistent, you're reducing that decision fatigue by making meals that are really simple, really boring. You can repeat when you need them to, and one of the things that does is it eliminates their need to go and find other sources or just get takeout because it's overwhelming. So one of those hacks that we use is just pick three meals that you can sort of rotate, and then you can do it that way as a start.
Yeah, and then I think a lot of it, like you've talked about so much, is a mindset and changing the mindset of
Mm,
food as fuel instead of food as this treat where I'm just going to gorge myself on just this amazing. Sure, it's great to go out and have a great meal or something fancy, but honestly, food is fuel, and get over the
that's
fact that
it.
you just have to. Everything's just got to be this delicious gourmet stuff. It's like, just a bunch of crap. Look, I eat because I have to. If I didn't have to, I wouldn't even eat. My wife always said, "Did you eat today?" I go, "I don't know." She goes, "How could you not eat?" I'm like, "Well, I try to eat, little meals throughout the day, but I'm just food doesn't do it for me. It's fuel. I have to eat it, otherwise I just hook myself up to
Sure.
an IV." But enough about me because I don't want to go. But there's something I need to ask because you've been so gracious with your time, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I do
That's
want to go
fine.
back to the three pillars because that's
Mm,
really crucial stuff, and I don't want to miss that. So, if you wouldn't mind just repeating or maybe go over
mm.
the three pillars that you talk about.
Yes. So the first one is the nutrition pillar. So this is the three pillars are really fundamental for people to understand how to integrate nutrition into their lifestyle. Okay, at the foremost, it's not around anything else. It's specific to my work, and it really is around understanding nutrition and how to integrate it into your lifestyle. So the first pillar is nutrition. It's really learning around the basics of nutrition that work for you. Understanding, that our brain consumes, 20% of our daily energy per day, 20%. So it's not optional, to fuel it well if you want it to perform. Okay. It's not optional, right? If you want to be confident, you want clarity, it's not optional. You need a strategy. Everybody who is in successful business understands strategy. They just don't have one for their nutrition, right? So we work out a strategy plan for that. This is around balancing your blood sugar. It's about having quality protein. It's about anti-inflammatory foods. It's about reducing anxiety, brain fog, all those sorts of things. So we really focus on how do we understand nutrition as applicable to your entire lifestyle, and putting together a strategy in that pillar for nutrition. The second one is mindset. So the second pillar is mindset. And with mindset, it's a lot of what we talked about in today's session, which was great. Mindset is really, I think, probably one of the most crucial, if not the most crucial pillar, which is having the ability to adapt, to understand, to adjust to certain situations, to motivate yourself. So if you're somebody that does need to lose a little bit of weight, mindset is absolutely crucial to this, because as you said at the beginning of this podcast, you could give somebody a diet, but whether they apply it or not, it's anyone's guess, right? Because we're not working on their mindset. We're not understanding, how are you motivated to apply this? How much hand-holding do you need with me one-on-one? So the mindset piece is crucial. I really work quite hard to help them push through barriers, obstacles, stories that they've told themselves over the years. Yeah, and it's really embedded in the way they eat. Really, really embedded in the way somebody eats is your mindset. I encourage the listeners and the viewers to really think around, okay, when I'm eating, am I actually hungry, or am I eating for other reasons? Um, am I bored? Did somebody put a donut in front of me right now? Do I have chocolate in the drawer? It's sometimes we're not even hungry. We're just eating for the sake of it. So,
Stop opening the
um,
refrigerator. All right. You're not
yes.
hungry. You're just bored.
And for those that work from home, how close are you to the kitchen? What does the pantry look like? So we work on all of that with mindset. You can see that it is really one of those things that needs to be established first. And then lifestyle integration. What does your lifestyle look like? Are you somebody who is working from home 50% of the time? Are you somebody who works in an office 100% of the time? Are you somebody who travels 80% of the time? So, are you somebody who has quite a, 1% lifestyle? It's quite extravagant, or it's very different. Or are you somebody who, I do also work with leaders who are incredibly fit and active and have amazing hobbies. And again, they come to see me for various reasons, whether they want to increase muscle mass, or whether they want to compete in an event, or whether so we don't always look at the ones that aren't optimal. We do also have the ones that are quite optimal and just want to expand on that. How do they live for longevity as they get older? So the lifestyle integration piece is huge, because if you can't integrate it into your lifestyle, you will never be able to apply it, and you will do it begrudgingly, and then it won't work. So we do try and make it very adjustable for you.
Wow. That is amazing. So we got nutrition, mindset, and lifestyle integration.
Mm.
I love the mindset. Like you said, ability to adapt, honesty. I would imagine honesty has so much to do with that lifestyle pillar,
Yeah.
huh? I
Yeah.
mean, lifestyle integration is really challenging for a lot of people, because I don't think a lot of people can visualize what type of lifestyle they want. But when it comes to
Mm-mm.
mindset, you just, like we said earlier, you just can't lie to yourself. To really
No.
work on your mindset, right? I mean, people need to be super honest and just go there with themselves. Or how could you fix a mindset if you won't even admit what are your challenges with your mindset?
So true. So true. People won't, if we don't uncover, again, their why, or help them see their vision, and this has happened, they just cannot commit, or they won't get the results they want. So it really is around that honesty, the honesty around food, the honesty around your beliefs around food, the honesty around your entire lifestyle. So there are aspects of people's lifestyles that are, aren't as savory, and that's fine. But if we know this, then we can work to get you in a better place if that's where you want to be.
Love this. Love this. Love, 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 love. I've got pages of notes here. Um,
Oh
so
dear.
Karen, you've been amazing. I just want to respect your time. You've been so gracious
That's
with your
fine.
time. We've covered so many amazing things. Like I said, I've just got a ton of notes I'm just going to absorb later when we get off the show. But
It's
I
fine. You
but
can
I
ask me anything.
well, I'm just gonna have to join up and have you coach me. Um, but I did lie earlier because I'm a liar. I'll admit it. I have to be honest with myself. I'm
Okay.
a liar. I said I only had one question, but I actually have two questions. So the
Sure.
last question I asked my guests, which I don't tell them, I always tell them the first one. I never tell them the second one. I always ask my guests, I said, if there was a message that you had for everyone, something that meant something, a saying, a thought, a theory, something that just meant something to Karen that you'd like to leave us
Mm.
with, what would that last thought be?
This is a tough one. I have so many messages, you know. I'm one of
Yes,
those
you do.
people that's always preaching about something, right? Very, very outspoken. Um, Look, I think for me, the biggest thing is in terms of messaging, in terms of the work that I do specifically, because I think that that's more relatable to people, is my message is if you if you wanted to ensure sustainability in your lifestyle, and if you wanted to ensure that your mindset was on point, you really need to look at the inside out. You really need to understand your nutrition. People say, right, nutrition, that's nice to have on so many levels. I do get the question, say at barbecues or parties, oh, that's great, you're a nutritionist, how fun. And I sort of look at them and think, I don't know if I say it. Well, interesting comment, how fun. um, it's at the way you eat actually shapes all of your behaviors. Okay. If you're an overconsumer, sorry, this message is going so long, but again, I have to say it. If you are somebody who overeats, for example, you will see that there are other areas in your life where you overconsume. Whether, if you are somebody who eats poorly, you will see that, that lack of self respect is then there are other areas in your life where you are showing lack of self-respect. So I don't just say it from a nourishment perspective in nutrition, I say it from a psychological standpoint as well. If I have one message for people is really assess your current diet and your behaviors around food, and then come and talk to me.
Love it. I love it. And self-respect, let's face it, if you don't have self-respect for yourself and also discipline, because you have to have some sort of
Mm,
discipline. If you're not disciplined in your eating, you may not be disciplined in other areas of your life, which,
mm.
let's face it, if that is your goal to have a short, uh, not healthy life, well, no problem. Do it. Live it up, right?
Do what you want. Yeah.
Knock
Party.
yourself out. However, if what lights you up is like me at 95 snowboarding with my grandkids or
Yeah.
great grandkids, then I have to put in that discipline. I have to have that self-respect to get myself there. Now, there's no guarantee because life is life, right? But I'd rather take my
Mm.
odds with Karen than not. So, Karen, you've been wonderful.
You're,
Please tell
oh,
us
thank you.
again. I've got Karen Aroney. Please tell us about your companies, your programs, where people can meet you. Please let us know
Yes.
about that stuff.
So I am the founder of ExecFuel, which is a nutrition consultancy for high performers. And that doesn't just mean C-suites or executives. It just means people who are very goal orientated and just want bigger things for their lives. So specifically the demographic that I work with, within that consultancy, I have a women's group program as well. So that's called Empower Her. And the women's group program is really specific to It's a 6-month program, and it's quite specific to helping female leaders become better versions of themselves, both professionally and personally, through better nutrition strategies. Because as I touched on that last very long message that I had, if you don't assess your current nutrition practices, or if you do, you might realize that's impacting you as a person, both your personal and professional development. And I do that type of work as well in our one-to-one work. So if anyone is interested, they can view my work at execfuel.com.au. I have a ton of free resources there, a blog that you can refer to as well for any types of information. And that's me in a nutshell, really, around
I
the work
love it.
that
And
I
I've
do.
I've been on your website a number of times and looked through it. There's a ton of stuff on there, a ton of resources. And I'm very excited about women empowering themselves more. So I'm so excited that you're doing
Mm.
that. And because let's face it, women just are better people.
Well, I
Dudes,
don't want to
dudes,
say
not
it,
so
but
much. They just
slightly
are. They're
biased.
better bosses. They're
No.
better multitaskers. Hopefully, one day
And,
you'll finally have a woman president. It'd be way, way better. But in
oh,
any case,
no.
Karen Aroney, you have been amazing, 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 amazing. Time just flies. Just so
Yes.
grateful for your time and
Thank
joining us. And
you.
everyone, please look up Karen Aroney. Go to her site. We're going to post everything on the podcast. All you have to do is click
Oh,
it,
you're
link it,
wonderful.
go find her, and get yourself fixed. She's got the most amazing 3 pillars, and it'll help you get better, help you find more.
No, thank you, Gary. It's been a pleasure being on with you.
Thanks, kiddo. Okay, guys. See you next time on the What If You Could podcast. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks again for joining us on another episode of What If You Could podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and give us any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. See you next time.